Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I want to talk a little bit tonight about career planning, career management with Martin Buckland. He is one of the world's leading executive career management practitioners. Martin holds multiple designations in resume writing and coaching and specializes at the senior manager level and above, and those who aspire to be business leaders. His client base is global. He travels to speak at executive conferences and business schools, highlighting why professionals should manage their careers, and he shares numerous tips and tricks to advance careers. He's also considered the global expert in two niches: executive master of business administration, graduates and candidates, and mining professionals. Why mining professionals, Martin? By the way, welcome to the show.
Pleasure. Well, thank you very much. It's very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So I got to ask, why mining?
Well, mining is a very interesting, little do Canadians know, it's the backbone of our economy. And the leading recruiter executive recruiter in mining about 10 or 15 years ago, he's since retired, had carried the same last name as me, Buckland. So everybody thought we were related. Well, we're not, but it was good for me and it was good for him. And so he introduced me to mining, and it's actually a fascinating business. I mean, nobody really here who lives in Toronto. Well, actually, Toronto has 82% of the world's head offices of mining.
Really? 82% of the head offices of mining companies are in Toronto?
Yeah, or Vancouver. And then, there's 211 minerals in the world. Canada has 209.
Really? That's fascinating.
Yeah, and I've been writing...
What two don't we have?
Sorry?
What two don't we have?
I don't know. I could never pronounce them anyway because they're all Latin or Greek names. Yeah, but no, it's absolutely fascinating. And then my geologists and exploration geologists, two have told me just recently that they believe that we've only mined less than 1% of the minerals that they think is under the ground here in Canada. So I tell my clients I live in Horseshoe Valley, Ontario, and I hope I got gold mine underneath.
Well, if it's only 1%'s been mined, there's a lot more dirt to uncover.
Yeah, no, it's a huge business. Yeah, it's a fascinating business.
Why specializing in executive MBAs?
So in 2007, the Ivy School of Business at Western University approached me to write resumes and do coaching and cover letters for all of their graduates of their EMBA classes, and they graduate 3 cohorts a year. And I uncovered a niche here. Lots of business schools, they specialize, the coaches specialize at MBA, but not EMBA. So EMBA is a totally different demographic to an MBA. So I've uncovered this niche, and now I've penetrated this niche, and I travel all over the world speaking to EMBA schools because they don't manage their careers, and they should be, because they've spent a lot of money going to those business schools. The Kellogg program in the US is at $210,000 plus a year US dollars.
Yeah, Kellogg and Schulich.
Kellogg and Schulich. Yeah, I teach at Kellogg Schulich just down the road from me. Yeah.
Fascinating. And how did you get into this business, sir?
Oh, well, so I'm a police officer by trade, and I fell very seriously ill and had to look around for another business. I had no counseling, no coaching, nothing. I bought myself a 486 computer and with DOS, and it was a 30 megabyte hard drive in Mississauga. And I remember the guy saying to me, "Oh, it's 30 megabytes of hard drive. You'll never, ever fill that up." And that resonated with me. And then a friend asked me to type his resume, and the rest is history.
Are resumes still important? I thought everyone just looks at LinkedIn profiles.
No, they're still very, very important. So it's a two-way street. They could find you on LinkedIn, and then they're going to ask for your resume. It's a very succinct document. And then, or on the other hand, you could go send it to as a result of an advert. And then they could ask you for your look at your LinkedIn. First thing everybody does is look at LinkedIn. So the resumes are grown in stature, importance now. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Because I find that some of these companies that one applies to, they take your resume and parse it into their own little structure with their computer program right away.
They used to. They shouldn't do it now. Executive recruiters used to do it many, many years ago. They don't do it now. I mean, they should not mess it around, because it's your career history. It documents your career history. And with today's technology, it's called ATS, applicant tracking system. You only get one chance to beat that computer. Well, you match that computer. You can never beat a computer. So the format of a resume has changed a lot in the last 3 to 4 years. Totally. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk a little bit about that, but we're also going to talk a little bit about career management and some of the coaching that you do, and some of the management that people should make use of. I appreciate you joining us today. We're going to take a 2-minute break for some messages and come back with Martin Buckland, an expert in recruiting, an expert in resume writing, an expert in career management, a coach in career management, and ask him for some advice on all these topics. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Martin Buckland. He is one of the world's leading executive career management practitioners. Our topic is going to be career coaching, career management, resume writing, recruiting, etc. Martin, what is career management?
Well, it's a new term, reasonably new term, and people don't know how to manage their careers, and they totally ignore it. They manage their finances, and they see their a financial advisor once a year, maybe before RRSP season or whatever, and but they don't see a coach who can help them bump their career up, make them earn more money, and give them a happier job, because happiness, work-life balance is very, very important today. But so it's managing people's careers, helping them with their resumes, helping them network, teaching them the skills and the tips and tricks to introduce to executive recruiters, and just relationship management.
Okay. Why do you think educated people don't do this?
They're lazy. I really think. I think a lot of people, even the C-suite, they've got. We live in a busy life, and they don't want to. They don't want to network. I mean, the statistics are those people who network while they're gainfully employed, if they go into career transition, they're unemployed. I don't call it unemployment, I call it career transition. They get back to work a lot faster because they can pick it up with their network, and the network, as you know, is vital to success today. So I think that it's a lethargy, and it's at the back of their mind. Oh yes, I must update my resume, I must update my LinkedIn profile, or I should be more active on my LinkedIn profile, but they're not. And then when the axe comes, the guillotine comes, and they're like, first thing is, do they call me? And they've been watching me on LinkedIn periodically, and with all these messages, these psychological messages, update your resume, update your LinkedIn profile, network, and whatever. And then they realize suddenly, I should have listened.
What's that old rule about if you don't network while you don't need a job, you're not going to be prepared when you do need a job?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's crucial. And there's so many places you can network within your own industry. You can become an expert in your own industry, get selected to speak at industry related conferences, and then you have all your peers in front of you. But so many people don't want to become part of their executive team or part of the conference organizers and speak to their peers, because you get an audience and people will recognize you, and often in that audience is your next boss.
Or you could appear on the Brian Crombie Radio while we're talking about your expertise, and
there you go.
Broadcast that on LinkedIn and elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So networking is one of the keys. Are there other keys to managing your career?
Well, yeah, I mean, the important thing is to update your resume, because a resume format has changed a lot, as I mentioned earlier on, thanks to ATS, the applicant tracking system. But people, they are very lackadaisical in updating their resume, and then they don't know how to format it and how to sell themselves. Selling is a huge problem with a lot of people. Sales, marketing, and human resources professionals are the world's worst resume writers.
So I haven't updated my format since I graduated about 50 years ago, maybe 40.
Yeah.
I think I used the same format that the Ivy Business School, or maybe Harvard Business School, I can't remember, one of my business schools used as the format. I've updated and added some jobs, but I don't think I've updated the format. So I'm probably the worst offender of what you're describing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, people haven't got the time and the energy. They don't see the value. This is the crucial thing. They don't understand the value of career management, but they also don't understand their own personal value. We all have our own personal value. We have our personal brand. And, there's many people who've, when in my father's generation, it was okay to be in a company from the day you graduated from high school or university to the day you retired. But now that's frowned upon. You should be moving every maximum of 6 years. And I've had clients who've been in companies, and many of them you will know, big Canadian corporations, and they've been there for 15 years, and they look around and their equivalent at the competition is earning $65,000, $70,000, $80,000 more a year, because that company has taken advantage of their loyalty. When I first started writing resumes 31 years ago,
have taken advantage of the loyalty. So hopping jobs actually made economic sense.
Yeah, so you are in charge of your career, not your employer. They could terminate you tomorrow morning. So you need to embrace career management and take charge now, and then that will bring huge rewards to your personal life, because you take your career home. And if you are unhappy in your job, your spouse or your kids or anybody else in your family unit get to know your unhappiness, and that can bring a lot of mental health and other issues as well.
So networking, updating your resume. What else?
And then being active, not just having a LinkedIn profile and having it stationary. You need to be active on LinkedIn, even when you're gainfully employed. Now, LinkedIn is almost like a page listing, so you can scroll through from top to bottom. Each section has their own characters, a number, but you can have endless. Whereas a resume is a maximum of 3 pages. A LinkedIn is can be you can scroll down and down and down. But people, they don't use their LinkedIn, and only use it when they are in career transition. A classic example was just a couple of weeks ago. I had a client 10 years ago, and I told him, make sure you use your LinkedIn. And he took that on board, but didn't take it on board. And then suddenly I saw him active on LinkedIn. So I picked up the phone and said, I know what's happened to you. You're in career transition. And he said, well, how do you know? And I said, well, I haven't seen you on LinkedIn for 10 years. Now you're active on LinkedIn. And it was a wake-up call to him.
Well, it's interesting. I'm not sure exactly how the algorithm works, but I tell people like yourself that are guests on my show, which I post copies of the show on LinkedIn, that if they comment on it or promote it or tag it, the views will go up dramatically. And it's incredible. If I post the show, I'll get a certain amount of views. But if the interviewee comments on it, tags it, shares it, the views go up dramatically. And if some of their friends or colleagues comment on it, because it actually is an interesting show, the views go up unbelievable.
Dramatically.
And I'm not even talking about things that go viral, not viral, just hundreds or thousands of views, just by a few comments to make it interesting. And the best is when the comments go back and forth. And so therefore, if someone comments on the show, you got to comment back. You got to thank them. You got to, and once it goes back or forth once or twice, the algorithm must show it to a whole bunch more people.
It does. It picks it up dramatically. So, I mean, the trick for you is when you post something, within an hour, you make a comment. Well, what do you think of this? Has anybody watched it or whatever? Because that also raises your algorithm as well.
Unbelievable. So active on LinkedIn. What else?
So have a fully complete
resume.
LinkedIn.
We got networking. We got active on LinkedIn. What else?
Well, a relationship building with executive recruiters. So keep that relationship with executive recruiters. Many people, once they've landed, they drop that dialogue, that relationship executive recruiters. They're human beings just like us, and they want that dialogue. They want to know what you're doing and how you're doing and your successes and whatever. They may not have a project for you for 5 years, but you need to keep on their radar. People just drop off the radar, and then as soon as they go into career transition, they expect an executive recruiter to pick up that relationship from 5 or 7 or 8, 9 years ago, and that doesn't happen. Yeah.
And so how do you stay in touch with these executive recruiters? Sending them
Well,
messages on LinkedIn or emails, or taking them out for dinner?
Email them a story, a success story. So I don't call myself a resume writer anymore. I call myself a storyteller. So I tell stories about my clients' projects or their successes. So send them and they're called stars. So situation, task, action, results. So star stories.
Situation.
So send them a star. Sorry?
Repeat that, please. Situation.
So situation, task, action, results. So star stories. So send them a star story once every 6 months and maintain that relationship. Keep on their radar. And of course, in July and August is the best time to actually network in person with executive recruiters as well. They're more liable to have a cup of coffee with you or a lunch than they are at any other time of the year.
Why?
Because it's there also a little bit low season, so they have more time to network and invite them out for a coffee or a lunch or breakfast or something. Yeah, because they can manage your career for the rest of your life. I work extensively with executive recruiters. They're my main referral, but I refer my clients to executive recruiters as well.
Interesting. Okay. So we've got resume writing, we've got networking, we've got active on LinkedIn, we've got relationship building with executive recruiters. Anything else?
Be mindful of making an investment, just like you do. You put your RSPs and all the other investment strategies. You need to invest in your career. Make some financial investment and time investment. That's very, very important. Because those people who don't invest in their career or manage their career can flounder. But those people that do, statistics show us that they can retire earlier, they can earn more money, and they are happier.
I've always told people that I think it's easier to find a job when you've got a job, even though it takes a lot of extra work to go out looking for the job. But is it true that, if you see the writing on the wall, if you think that you're going to want to leave because either you're unsatisfied or your employer's unsatisfied, is it best to start looking before you're unemployed?
Well, you should. My philosophy is the day you start your next job is the day to start your next job search.
Really?
So, I mean, that's a pretty tough thing to say, but it
really is.
Career management. So you never know when you're going to be terminated. But yes, you're right. When you're gainfully employed, it's always best to start looking. But however, talent right now is so short that I'm not going to say easy, but it's a lot better to find a job when you're in career transition than ever before.
A lot of people, I'm not sure if it's actually the imposter syndrome, but will say, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too inexperienced, I'm overqualified. What's your guidance? Is it to find that perfect job before you apply, or to just get your name out there and get in the flow of things?
Well, I'm not a great believer in all that negative thought. I mean, I present across the world, and one of the big things is ageism. Well, I don't believe there. Yes, it's a perception. It's a perception up here. If you clear that out of your mind, think of the more benefit you can bring ABC company or XYZ company if you're 55 than if you were 25, because you haven't got that. You've got that vast experience. So it's a business case with your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and your oral dialogue with career influencers. I've got clients in their 60s right now, today, who've got multiple offers.
In their 60s with multiple offers.
And multiple offers, yeah. And from just a senior manager all the way through to the C-suite.
And what about too young, too inexperienced?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to have that experience to really carry a job, whatever the role's responsibilities are. So, if you can show that ambition, that drive, then that's good. But yeah, you have to take on board lots of continuous learning. Learning is very, very important. Continuous education. So don't just let it stop at when you're 35 and not take any certifications, designations, or whatever.
So you keep on going for courses or new degrees or what?
Yeah. So courses, I mean, you can do with since COVID, the world has changed as far as education. You can do courses online. So I tell my clients, you don't have to do it with a Canadian or a US or a UK university. If you live in the UK, you can do it with a North American. If you live in the UK, you can do it with a North American university. Or here, I tell my clients, why don't you go to London Business School or Oxford and Cambridge, and you get that on your resume. That is a topic of conversation, and it's also it gets intrigue from a career decision maker at the other end.
Right. Sounds like pretty good advice. Career management, according to our guest Martin Buckland, is critically important in success in life and in happiness, and making sure that you don't go home to a difficult situation. Sounds like it's pretty good advice to me. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back in just 2 minutes with Martin and talk a little bit more about how you manage this whole process, what some of the keys are in resume writing, etc. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Martin Buckland. He's one of the world's leading executive career management practitioners. We've been talking about the keys to managing a career, and he said that we've got to update a resume, we've got to network, we've got to establish good relationships with executive recruiters, we've got to update our LinkedIn on a fairly regular basis, and we've got to be mindful of our career management. And he said something pretty profound, which is kind of aggressive, which is he says, the first day you start looking for your new job is the first day you started your last job. So it suggests you're sort of out there looking all the time. Fascinating. Martin, if people want to access your services from either a resume writing or a career management standpoint, what's your website, sir?
www.eliteresume.com. ANELITERESUME.com.
And eliteresume.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good. I thought what'd be fun would be for you to criticize my resume.
I'd love to.
And see what mistakes I've made. Does that sound like an interesting idea?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm up for the challenge.
Okay. So not everyone on the radio can see my resume, but people that are seeing this on video can see my resume. What do you think of it?
Well, instantly it dates you. I'm going to say it looks like what I would call a Bill Gates resume. So it was one of the original templates that Bill Gates had in his Word many, many moons ago. So I'm going to say it's probably about 2005 or 2006 or somewhere around there. That's the format. That's the way it's designed, and then your content is not good. Really, you need to talk about, well, how did you lead that $175 million recapitalization and financing with syndicates? Because it doesn't happen overnight. There again, we're talking about relationship building. You have to find those people, and then there's a story behind that. Plus, the critical thing in this resume, Brian, is you haven't got your hard skills. What do I mean by hard skills? Those are your business skills. So if your resume was to go into an executive recruiter's database or a HR database of a corporation, they pull it out based on buzzwords, functional, industry, and designation specific. So if you are a CFO, you have all sorts of different things. I mean, you may have had IT under your wing. So, but you've got general accounting. You've probably got GAAP, or you've got IFRS. You've got internal controls. You've got treasury. The whole long list goes on and on and on. You need to put those in there, because if I was a recruiter, I would be typing those in. You'd have the ones generic to everybody, doesn't matter what function you're in, that I type in: executive leadership, resource management, budget, and P&L. Anybody above senior manager generally has those, and then you scale it back into niche it into your particular function.
Sounds like I have to hire you for my resume.
Oh, I'm sure you. I mean, there's CFOs is hot hiring right now. Yeah, I got one client who's got he's a CFO. He's got 2 job offers.
So my resume is 3 pages long. Is that too long?
No, 3 pages. Well, you're 2.5. So that you committed the cardinal sin there. You got 2.5. So you go to 3, either do 2 pages or 3 pages. You don't go more than 3 pages. Here in Canada, if you go more than 3 pages, you reduce your chances of having it read by 97%.
Really? But 3 pages is okay.
3 pages is fine. 3 full pages, not 2.5 or 2.25 or 2 1/3. And at your level, all the C-suite and anybody really above with more than 15, 16 years service deserves a 3-page, because you have to tell those stories: situation, task, action, result. And those take up a lot of space. And
including education and extracurricular activities and publications, etc.
Publications, yes, and articles and videos, but not, well, it depends on the extracurricular activities. Your case, yes, but, you know, I had somebody the other day who was in bungee jumping and parachuting. Well, what's that going to tell the reader at the other end? This guy is living on risk. Am I going to take, if I'm going to hire him, am I going to take that risk on hiring him?
So if you're into really crazy stuff, don't put it on your resume.
Exactly. When I don't put hockey, you're a hockey coach or anything, because it's lots of people are hockey coaches, downplaying it. But if you, like, I had one client or 2 clients who've climbed Mount Everest, Mount McKinley, Mount Blanc, and Mount Kilimanjaro. So what is that going to tell the reader at the other end? A lot.
But I always want to find out what people do for fun, what they do in their spare time.
Well,
I want to get to know the real person.
They can put that on their LinkedIn,
but not in the resume.
It's a purely business document.
Okay, good.
Many years ago, when you wrote that was fine, but not acceptable now.
I got to update my resume. I got to update the format. I got to make it more action and story oriented. I got to use some of those buzzwords that you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got to be far more proactive, and you got to have a proper ATS. So no shading, no underlines. You can have hyperlinks. You can only have one block of text of 4 lines or more, and the rest has to be 3 lines. It's a computer, and as you know, you can never beat a computer. But people like me know how to match a computer.
So if I wanted you to look at my resume, or someone else did, how much would that cost?
It's in 4 figures. Yeah. So and then it goes about 4 figures. So minimum of $1,000.
Minimum of $1,000.
Yeah.
And what do? You send the resume to Martin Buckland and he comes back, or do you have a back and forth?
I give everybody a free critique, and then if they wanted to engage me, the engagement is, I'm a tough coach, so I push people through because I want them to learn about themselves, the value they can bring. So I get them to do extensive homework, like a brain dump. And then that homework they can use as a cheat sheet for the interview. So they're far more prepared, far more eloquent, far more confident. Nobody knows, if you've got a team or a Zoom interview, that you've got a cheat sheet in front of you. So they send that back to me. If they don't complete it to what I know they have, that's my intuition, I return that homework to them. And then they say that, then I have an interview, and then I go away and do my magic. And I have a particular format. I don't embellish, I don't tell lies. I just really power it up using the English language to the maximum. And then many people here, definitely in corporate Canada, corporate US, corporate UK, those are my 3 main countries I operate in, will say, oh, you had your resume prepared by Martin Buckland. And that in itself opens doors. So yeah, because it's a very interesting document. Yeah.
And what were those keywords that you said you had to have at the top?
So you have to have all the buzzwords, the functional industry specific buzzwords. So you would have, general accounting, GAAP, IFRS, with Canadian GAAP, US GAAP. I know GAP's a bit old now. And you would have internal controls, you would have treasury, you would have auditing, you would have change management, continuous improvement, all sorts of different.
Think about what the regular buzzwords are. Martin,
Yeah.
how did you get into this sort of very narrow profession after life as a police person?
Well, I fell very seriously ill and had to look around for a new career. I didn't have any coaching or any help. And as I say, I bought this computer, 486 computer, and a friend asked me to type his resume. And I started just doing resumes for the first 12 years. And then I branched out into coaching. So I now hold multiple designations in resume writing and multiple designations in coaching.
How does law enforcement help you in your current career?
My interview. So without, I mean, if they want the handcuffs, that's an extra fee. But interviewing is, I can extract stuff out of them that perhaps they didn't realize was very, very important to their career management, and of course could be very important to their next employer.
We're going to take a break for some final messages and come back. And I'm going to ask Martin about what professions and industries are currently actively recruiting, where he sees the opportunity. Is summer a time to take a holiday or to actually think about your management of your career? Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 with Martin Buckland of, what was it? EliteResume.com?
And EliteResume.com, yeah.
And EliteResume.com if you're interested in Martin helping you out. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're talking about career management, resume writing, how to look for a job. And our guest is Martin Buckland. He's one of the world's leading executive career management practitioners. He's got multiple designations in resume writing and coaching and specializes in senior management and above level individuals. Martin, you've given us some great advice. You've talked about updating your resume, keeping your LinkedIn profile active, networking, staying in contact with executive recruiters, and looking for a job, even when you've just started a new one, so that you're always active in the marketplace. What about right now? What sectors of the economy do you think are currently looking for people? What professions are looking for people? What occupations are active? And then also, if you could, most people think everyone stops in the summertime, but you posted something about summer as a time where you should still be actively in the job hunt. So maybe you could talk about those issues for a minute.
Sure. Well, let's talk about the summer because that's very interesting. So, on or about the last week of June every year, there's the wheel is, or the 100% of the job seekers are in the market, and they fall out of the market. 70% drop out, thinking there's no recruitment, no hiring that goes on in the summer. Well, actually, just as much hiring goes on in the summer as it does any other year. So, if you're one of those 70%, you've lost out. But so those 30% that are still back in it, that if they up their job search, I tell people, a job search is if you're in career transition, treat it as a full-time gig. It's not you can't sit on the couch. Don't let your spouse give you all these honey-do lists and whatever. You need to get pedal to the metal, because she or he probably wants you back at work fast as well. But so the more effort you put into it, so if you ramp it up in the summer, you can get more interviews in the summer, so July and August, than you do the rest of the time of the year. And December is also exactly the same.
So you get more interviews in July and August and December because other people aren't competing with you, aren't looking.
There's less competition. So 70% less competition. So,
but companies are still looking.
Companies are still looking, yeah. And in December, there's ramping up because of the next year as well. So it's even better. I've had clients had an interview at 8:00 on Christmas Eve. With an executive recruiter. So that's very, very important. And what was the other question? I can't remember.
What professions? What industries?
Oh, what professions? So, well, that's good. Every profession right now we are on the verge of a huge skill shortage. We only need to listen to the news. Talent shortage everywhere. But the major ones that are in good hiring, doesn't matter whether it's top to bottom to top, is supply chain, sales, and marketing. But that might change next month or the month after. I keep my tabs with executive recruiters and listening to reading various journals and seeing what the career shift. But in the UK, the number one is sales right now. There's a shortage of good salespeople. So in a sales resume, you have to show percentiles. I see so many resumes from salespeople that don't even have any sales figures in them. Well, what are you going to be judged on? You're going to be judged on how much money can you make me? So it's a different mindset that they have. So they need to sell. And then, just an example, you need to really make the wow factor. So a sales example would be they put action verb increased. What about propelled? What about catapulted? What about elevated? What about raised? What about upward?
Get out that thesaurus.
Yeah. So there we go. Catapulted is a good word. Yeah. I used annihilated the other day in a resume.
Annihilated the competition.
Annihilated the competition. This guy had annihilated Nestle in Nigeria.
Okay, well, that's great advice, actually. You get out the thesaurus and don't just think about managed and executed and increased.
Exactly, yeah. The English language is such an amazing language. Yeah.
So, bottom line, is now a good time to be looking for a job?
Yes, it is. Very good time. Very, very good time. Yeah, but make sure you have your ducks in line first. You have a up-to-date ATS-friendly resume. You have an active LinkedIn profile, and you have the ambition, the drive. Show that you're excited, because so many people are dumb and glum and whatever. Yes, it's a tough life right now, but you need to have put on a good face.
And you talked about this coaching that you do to get people ready for interviews. That could probably be a whole nother topic for an interview sometime.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can write a book on the interviews.
Martin Buckland of aneliteresume.com. Thanks so much for joining us. And if people want to access your services, the website they go to is aneliteresume.com, correct?
That's right. Yep.
Martin Buckland, thank you very much for joining us. I think it's interesting that, what Martin's talked about, which, I've talked about lots of times is number one, it's easier to look for a job when you've got a job. And so therefore, I think that that's something that people should be mindful of, which isn't exactly what Martin says in regards to start looking for a job as soon as you start the last job. But sometime along the process of one job, you should be thinking about the next career move. And then I think the other thing that he mentioned, lots of stuff that he mentioned was great. But one other thing I'd like to underline is this idea about networking before you need it. I think that if you wait till you need that network, and it's the same as, needing a friend, needing some help from people. If you're only out there networking, befriending people, taking people to lunch, having coffees with people when you need them, they're going to feel used. They're going to feel it's like a transactional relationship. And the best thing to do is to get out there and network and help people now when you've got the opportunity to recommend people for a job or provide references or to help them with their resume, whatever it is. And then when you need it, it'll be far more easier and far more generous in return. The people will be. And so get out there before you need it, network before you need it, write your resume before you need it, get active in LinkedIn before you need it. And look for a new job before you need it.
That's good.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. I remind you, I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca. And Martin can be found at aneliteresume.com. Good night.